Hello, China! Thank you so much, Bilibili, for inviting us to the platform. A few weeks ago, after we put out the Unleash the Avatar trailer, the early alpha trailer, it has been overwhelming. But the Bilibili team reached out to us and said, we think you should make an account. We think you should address and talk to the Chinese audience. And one of the things we realized is, look, we are a very, very tiny game studio that's doing this for the first time. So far, we have not raised any external funding. And I think this is the first time in history that a small game development studio from India is talking directly to the Chinese audience. That is the power of the internet.
Yeah, I mean, we saw all the comments and we loved all of the comments. We love the warmth in the comments. We love the energy. We love the humor that comes out of it.
We really loved some of the memes. It was amazing. On the suggestion of the Bilibili team, we thought something fun we could do would be to pick up some of the comments that have appeared on the Unleash the Avatar trailers and react to them. Now, I just want to be very clear. I personally love playing Chinese video games. And I just feel like both India and China have this wonderful opportunity to take games to the world, which we are currently doing.
I just want to say, all the games coming out of there look so good. Like, especially
out of China, right?
Yeah. The Phantom Blade Zeros, the
Wu-Chang.
Wu-Chang also that came out. Obviously, everyone's played Wukong as well, so yeah.
Yeah. You guys make awesome games, and we are learning. I just want to quickly introduce ourselves, and then we'll get straight to the comments because we can tell you a lot more about what we're thinking about with the game. And ideally, we want to make it in some way in collaboration with the audience. So my name is Varun Maya. I run with Rohan a game studio called EOS Games. Rohan, do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Rohan Maya. Hi. I also introduced myself as the brother of Varun Maya.
Okay. Let's get straight to the comments. So I'm going to pick one up by random. Vishnu has 4 divine weapons. And one iconic divine ring is called the Sudarshan Chakra, which is said to be made from the fragments of the sun, symbolizing reincarnation. The protagonist is using here the fragmented chakra, which is a broken divine wheel. Yes, I sometimes watch Indian mythology explanations in my free time. I thought the useless knowledge I prepared for no reason actually came in handy. Yeah, I think for the first time, we get to show a little bit of Indian culture to the world. And so far, a lot of Indian culture, especially our mythology, we've seen on television growing up. And this is the opportunity where you now can be a part of that mythology. I always have this belief that the world likes unique and new things. And I think the world hasn't seen a game like this before. Our approach to mythology, our approach to the entire lore of Indian culture and Indian gods, I think is going to be one of the first times we are able to put this out. And I really hope you like it. And I really hope we do it justice.
I think that is fundamentally the difference between us and the West, which is both India and China have very rich culture and history and of course also mythology. And Chinese, or rather China has succeeded tremendously with their games and showing that culture to the rest of the world. And I think at this point, it is also India's time now to kind of, showcase that as well.
You want to pick the next one up?
Sure, let's do it. I'm going to get this one. Trigger a perfect dodge 3 times in a row, and a Bollywood song and dance sequence is activated on the spot. All non-hostile characters can't help but join in and start singing and rapping.
I have a very good segment in the game where there is going to be a Bollywood song and dance. I don't want to spoil it for you, but it makes sense in the story. It's not random. And as for some of the moves that the protagonist does, the dodge with the hand in the hair, we have a lot of those. If you grow up watching Indian movies, and in our game, our main character, he's an orphan. So he grows up watching old Indian movies, and that's how he knows how to fight. We wanted to keep it fun. We wanted to keep it interesting. We think there are too many games that take themselves too seriously. Yeah. And we thought, let's add a little bit of this.
And it's crazy how many people know about Bollywood at this point, and how many people actually watch Bollywood movies, especially in China. It's actually very cool to see.
My mother once told me something about Bollywood. When I was growing up, I always thought Bollywood was very, over the top, cringe. But my mother told me something very interesting about Bollywood. She told me that when a person goes to watch a movie at night, the person doesn't want something very realistic. They already have their life's problems. When you play a game, you don't want to relive your life's problems. You don't want this ultra realistic thing, makes you go and clean something in a game, because it's the same thing. You might as well live life, right? Otherwise, you want an escape. They want to live the life of another hero who is not really them, but for a few hours, they can become them. That's what we want to capture the essence of.
Yeah, I think we've seen a lot of movies like this in India, especially not just Bollywood these days, but also the South films that I'm sure a lot of people have watched, like RRR. There's KGF. I'm sure a lot of people that have watched it as well, which is, you know, just these over-the-top actions and this like cool hero, which I feel like we don't see too much of in games anymore.
Yeah.
Right? Which is why I feel like we need to bring that back, like this main character who's like really cool and kind of a little bit arrogant.
Main character energy.
Main character energy. Yeah, I think that's the main essence.
Awesome. Let me pick up the next shit. Reflects the player's mental state after a perfect dodge. I'm unbelievably handsome, truly. If by the end of the game you feel these few moments, and especially in a game which is based on like Sekiro style combat, it's going to be hard. So when you're about to, you know, finish the boss and you have to do one of these cool moves, I think it will be something you will remember. And it's not just this one move, right? Most people know this one move, but in the actual game we have 50, 60 such moves, right? I don't know about whether it's going to be, you know, a game that will surpass the other games out there, but it'll certainly be a memorable game that you'll go back thinking, I loved doing the hand through the hair when I had 5 HP and the boss had 5 HP and then I finished him off.
Also the game is hard, right? So because it's somewhat hard, like it's doubly more satisfying that you actually have to do those moves in like the nick of time, and like it makes a lot of sense. So you're even more rewarded because, you know, it's actually hard. I'm telling you, Hidetaka Miyazaki will never in his life think of this move. He won't think of it even if he lives 100 years. He won't think of it in his next life either.
You know, I have such deep respect for Miyazaki. I remember reading a little bit about his career. You know, when he first was at From Software, there was a project that the studio had given up on called Demon Souls. I think it was Demon Souls. He took it up because he believed that everyone thought it would fail anyway. And that gave him a shot. And I feel for us with Unleash the Avatar, a lot of people, especially after the first trailer, didn't believe it would work. And even now, there are a lot of people who don't believe it would work. And I feel that's the best place to be, especially when you're starting off a career in game development like us. We now have the ability to put all our love and all our passion on this thing that most people would anyway not care so much about. And I think that's a wonderful place to be in. And I think that's where real creativity comes in.
Also, I think you're quite wrong. I think Miyazaki has thought of some really cool ideas. I don't know if it's Miyazaki or someone from his team, but I'm sure it's them. For example, Sekiro has the Mikiri counter where the sword comes this way, like the weapon, and then you kick it down.
Yeah. But I think it would be crazy if, and maybe you can make this happen because you have all the power, if we can somehow convince FromSoft to put one of our moves in their games. We're okay with it. We believe that, you know, everything we build, it's just our ideas. We're building it in our game. But if somebody wants to take one of those ideas and put it in a game, it would be crazy to see it officially supported by From Software. I know this is a big ask, and they don't have to do it, but it would be really cool. And who knows? This is the internet. Strange things can happen. Awesome. I'll take the next one.
I'm excited for the next one. Go ahead.
How should I put this game? Its name translates to liberation/release, which should correspond to his final transformation. As for why he keeps dodging, that should be related to Indian religion, like a type of divine power. That thrown disc weapon should be a chakram, an Indian weapon, also called the wheel blade. The game is a lot like an Indian movie. Usually, the hero beats up the villain, like slapping them in the face, and the henchman spins twice in the air, and then a slow motion shot follows. That's pretty much the gist.
I was just thinking, when they see the moves in the next trailer of the actual game, they're going to be...
You are going to love it.
This is a big attempt in the Indian game industry, and I believe that there will be a place for Indian games in the game market in the future. After all, the volume is there.
I think the reason we don't have very successful Indian AAA games facing the Indian market, India is just not a very strong PC market. We are still in our infancy, right? We are still growing up, and it's baby steps now. And the way all funding markets work is if there's one success, then many other people get funding. So many other people can try. It's all about the ideas you have. And I think we have some very cool ideas that I've written down for many years of my life, so has Rohan. And we are just really blessed we get the opportunity to do this. It's because we believe that it's our responsibility to absorb that risk, prove that something is possible. Even if it doesn't make money, it can show the world that it is possible for India to make somewhat of a good game, and if we try 2 or 3 more times, maybe we make, you know, an even more amazing game.
I think it's also important for games to come from diverse different places, because it also helps, you know, showcase and highlight some of the cultures from different places. Right? I think that's very important, because otherwise if everything is coming from just one place, which is let's say America or Europe or anywhere from the West, it also leads to some amount of homogenization. And I think gamers want to see something new. For example, they really like, you know, Norse mythology, Greek mythology, like games like Hades, etc. And of course now with Wukong being so successful in China, and they want to see more from different cultures as well. So I think it's actually important that different countries have, representation in terms of games, and we build out more stuff.
Everyone wants to make the combat more complex and challenging, the story darker and grander, giving bosses more special effects and having more epic music. But Indian 3A has done the opposite, returning to the essence of games. The combat is good and fun. If I can tell a familiar and well-received Indian story, let the player experience a truly Indian musical, fighting stylish like a Bollywood hero. If the final boss isn't dark and serious, but instead humorous and comedic, ending with all the characters dancing together, the whole game is like a Bollywood movie, maybe it will leave a unique mark in gaming history. I agree with you.
Yeah, I think it matters that we have this, as we mentioned in some of the previous comments as well, right? We have this sort of unique angle, because otherwise games just get very homogenous, and they end up, and as you said, they over-focus on some of the smaller, finer details, which also, don't get me wrong, do matter, but ultimately you kind of want to break that mold.
I think it really depends on the storyteller. You make a good game and stuff, and to be honest, you don't need to choose. Your boss, the final boss of the game, can be dark, but you can still have some humor in other parts. You know who does this really well? Bollywood. In Bollywood, you can have a big chunk of the movie be happy and funny and interesting, and then suddenly it could take a turn into being more dark towards the ending, and then it would become funny and interesting again. And I'm spoiling a little bit of the game, but there's a part of the game where the antagonist, the bad guy, somehow finds a way to reverse the polarity of hell and earth. So he brings hell upwards from the sky, and over the rest of the game, you start seeing this inverted version of your world as hell creeping through the sky. So you have to finish something in time. In Indian mythology, you have the description of hell be these giant pots filled with oil where sinners are put in to cleanse their sins. But if you turn that upside down and put it in the sky, then you have this interesting phenomenon of oily rains. I don't know if you'll really find in any other games, because this is just something that is in our books, right? That we can read in the old Indian scriptures. So because nobody else has read those scriptures, they don't really have some of these ideas. So I feel because of where we are, we have some unique ideas that translate pretty well into the game. Now it's our job to execute it well, right? Everything we're saying, it's our job to make it as good as it's in our head. And just like this, there are thousands of things in the game that are very, very unique, and I hope you like it. Someone said, it's good. Players may encounter a situation where they are also killed off after a perfect dodge, and when you are suddenly slapped in the face after pretending to be. I'm curious how many pretend actions there will be in the game.
I mean, just wait for some of the moves and actions that you see in hopefully the next combat trailer that we want to put out. Again, the whole idea is to make it cool and quirky and somewhat arrogant, because the main character.
We have cool Bollywood stunt people. We have people who have grown up watching Bollywood here doing most of the motion capture.
Yeah.
So you like it,
cool
and you can absolutely get your ass kicked while pretending to be handsome. In the game, when you turn around to do the parries, when you turn around and do the sword things like this, if you miss, you get a sword up your ass.
We should make it so that
so it can happen.
We should make it so that if you do the back dodge, the back parry, like you take double damage or something. So it's actually like a punishment.
No, it's not even like that. It's like you get hit in the ass and then
you kind of just get stumped.
So it'll be cool. Let's see what happens. Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting us. It's actually an honor to even have a few people look at what you're putting out. Even if it's 10 people that watch this video, it means a lot to us. I really hope we're able to do you justice and make a game that we are proud of and that is your money's worth. It'll take some time, but we're hard at work. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.